Vegas is officially a sports city, from the Raiders flopping against the Panthers and the Aces, and MVP Asia Wilson back and buzzing in the playoffs. Plus, UNLV has the media buzzing on and off the field, and of course VGK is back on the ice for training camp. There's a lot to talk about and a lot of opinions. Let's do this thing. Sin City Beat starts right now.
From Las Vegas, this is Sin City Beat.
Hello there, everyone, and thanks for joining us on Sin City Beat. I'm Mike Davis. Thanks for hanging out with us. Now, Sin City Beat is the show that dissects the Vegas sports world through the eyes of the sports reporters and storytellers leading the charge. On today's show, joining the panel, we got Ray Brewer, managing editor of the Las Vegas Sun, Mariah Janos, sports reporter and anchor with Fox 5 Las Vegas, and Willie G. Ramirez, sports reporter with WGRamirez.com. Thank you guys for all being here. Listen, there's a lot going on in the Vegas sports world. Aces playoff action as they took down the Storm and move on to the semis. VGK hits the ice for training camp, and the Raiders flop against the Panthers. But first, we start with the drama surrounding UNLV and Matthew Sluka. So UNLV is 3-0, kicking off conference play this weekend at home against Fresno State. This is a big game, and it could potentially put them in the top 25 AP poll. But all this talk the team is now dealing with surrounding the drama and quarterback Matthew Sluka, as he's quit the team now, according to his post on X, and is due to unfulfilled NIL promises, is what he's saying. So Willie, can you shed a little bit more light on this for us and what you think about all this going down right now?
Well, I don't think that any of us can sort of shed the factual light on it when we have so many conflicting stories. We have, Matt Sluka and his father and his agent all over Twitter speaking to X, speaking to national media members, saying that they were promised $100,000. Okay, in conversation, all verbal. So if that's, let's just say that that's all true. Yeah. Let's put it on the agent and say, why didn't you get anything in writing? We've all seen the movie Jerry Maguire. Put it in writing, yes. Get it down on paper, if that's the case. We have UNLV saying that they paid a $3,000 relocation fee, and that's what they agreed upon, later saying that they were in discussion of possibly $3,000, I believe, a month, if that's it, whatever it may be. The bottom line is, and there's one coach that's implicated in the conversation. We don't know, it's all alleged that he promised. In conversation, when you're in the living room, before there was NIL, back in our days with Tony Knapp as the football coach, Jerry Tarkanian, and nationwide, yeah, we know that there were always promises in living rooms. So if the coach in the conversation said, "Hey, yeah, no, we could probably get you $100,000," they took it to heart and they figured that's their verbal agreement. But do we know exactly? I don't know if we'll ever find out what was said, because the one mistake that I felt that was made on the day this all came out was we had the player, the father, and the agent speaking to national media, and we didn't really have UNLV saying anything. And if the kid knew he was leaving the night that he tweeted that out, Tuesday night, why wasn't UNLV out in front of this ahead of time saying he's entering the portal, he's leaving the university, jumping on this, sort of a little damage control? So I need to know more facts before we start flinging accusations.
Yeah, we all need to know more facts. I think, Mariah, you and I were texting last night, and we're thinking like, okay, beyond what we don't know and what we do know, the bottom line is this has to be one of the worst teammates on planet Earth. Yeah. Because for all the good momentum, all the good juju that's going on, UNLV football is relevant for the first time in forever. Undefeated, getting ready to potentially be in the AP top 25 poll. And now this guy, he's a professional. We can attack him because this is not just a student athlete anymore like the old days. This is a job. This is a professional. What's your take on this whole situation?
My take is, if I'm on the team that he's moving to, I don't want him there. I don't want him as my teammate. If it's so easy for him to up and leave and bail on your entire team just days before the conference opener, once UNLV is finally on the map, they're all over ESPN, Sports Center, which is something we have not seen. And this kid's up and bailing for a bag, and I get it. You don't have a pro career after college. It's your time to make money. But the way you went about it, that's dirty. I don't want that on my team. And it's just, you go to war every week with your teammates, with your brothers, and you're just going to, screw them over, for lack of a better word. I'm not about it.
It's terrifying. This is us finally facing the consequences of NIL, and this is really what that feels like. Interestingly enough, Ray Brewer, I mean, because yes, the relevancy of this program right now, the Phillies clinched the NL East. They're wearing UNLV football helmets in the locker room. Bryson Stott, Bryce Harper. That's how relevant this program is right now. And this is when this student athlete decides to make this choice. Matthew Sluka. It's like negotiating in mergers and acquisitions. He's like, when all the good stuff is happening, now is when I'm going to pull the trigger and do this, because he can't play 4 games without losing that eligibility. So tell us your take on this, because I know you were hot, fresh off the presses on X or Twitter. My producer, James Edward Barrickman IV, is telling me you should see what Ray just wrote on Twitter or X. Tell us what you wrote and why you feel that way.
Well, here's the deal. First of all, no bad publicity is good publicity, or whatever the analogy is.
There's no such thing as bad publicity.
No such thing as UNLV is relevant in football, right? Nationally relevant. Are they going to the Pac-12? Are they staying in the Mountain West? This quarterback thinks
that's what we were supposed to talk about today.
This quarterback thinks he's owed $100,000. Dude, we're used to 2-win UNLV football playing in front of no fans. So the fact that they're having real college football program problems, pretty cool deal. With that said, 49 years of suffering over here. My heart was ripped out last night because if I'm a football player, I want a ball. They're 3-0. They got a pathway to the playoff. You're the quarterback.
100%.
He failed to realize if you do well for Vegas, Vegas does well for you. You're the man that has the historic season. They're going to take care of you forever on this trip. Right. You're Moses Scurry. You're Anderson Hunt. You're Larry Johnson.
We know who those people are.
Everybody knows who that is.
And you're 100% right. And I think as we're gearing up to wrap up this block, let me just pose this very quickly to everyone. Is this potentially a silver lining? Because if this is how the guy feels internally, Matthew Sluka, maybe he is not the guy to lead this team to the promised land and into that 12-team college football playoff. So is Haj Malik Williams, is this going to be actually a silver lining for this program? Because we already saw Ricky White go on X. He seems excited and enthusiastic about this. Listen, Sluka, we were saying he was the white Lamar Jackson. He can't throw the ball downfield and he can run. So there potentially are silver linings from a acumen standpoint on the field, but also potentially just from a leadership standpoint as a quarterback. What do you think about that, Willie, very quickly?
2 points, real quick, to Mariah's point as far as letting them know 2 days before. If this has been a problem since week 1, why didn't they do it during the bye week? So she's absolutely right. You could have done this last week, number 1. Number 2, the UNLV Rebels rank 116th with their passing game going into this game. So it may not be that big of an absence when you make the transition to your backup and you continue, because how has the UNLV stayed in these games? Defense. This kid didn't play defense. It could be a blessing in disguise. Going back to Mariah's point, if he's all about himself, we don't need him this year. That's how UNLV should look at it.
I love it. I agree. All right, guys. Well, the Aces are looking good. 2-0 in the playoffs. Defeated the Storm. Now they're on to the semis to face the Liberty. We got more on their quest for a three-peat after the break.
You're watching Sin City Beat.
Welcome back to Sin City Beat. Well, there's a lot to discuss right now about this Aces squad. They're looking good. Plus, Asia Wilson has added some new hardware to her shelf, winning her 3rd MVP. Now, the Aces took down the Storm in round 1. Now it's on to the semis to face the Liberty. So, Mariah, after what you saw in round 1, how are you feeling about the Aces and their quest for this three-peat? Only the Comets have done that before.
Well, now they are facing the team to beat, the New York Liberty. They have come back stronger. They are bigger than the Aces. You can tell they're playing with that chip on their shoulder. They made post-game comments just last night. They're trying to rewrite history. So this semifinal round is going to determine who wins.
It's almost like the final.
In my mind, this is the finals. Like, whoever wins this series is winning it all. The Aces have turned a corner, and I don't want to look at the regular season matchups against the Liberty because there were extenuating circumstances. Chelsea Gray's out. They weren't 100%, but this Liberty team is playing with a serious edge right now. So it's going to be an intense series, I think the Aces could do it, but they're going to have to pull out all the stops in order to get this done.
Yeah, Unescu, 36 points.
Yeah.
Got to deal with Brianna Stewart, of course. Kelsey Plum balled out as well as Asia Wilson. She always does that. Willie, I mean, we're talking NIL last block. I don't even want to know how much you would get paid for your name, image, and likeness with the way you're always
I would
dressed.
owe money.
Yeah.
I would have to pay.
I don't believe that. But you are always on, reporting on WNBA stuff. It's kind of your go-to beat. Tell us, is this really the final? Is it between the Liberty and the Aces, and whoever wins that matchup in the semis is really going to take home the trophy?
I think it's a perceived and fantasy sort of for the fans. And Mariah's right. I mean, Mariah's right in terms of what we've wanted all season, whether you're a reporter or a fan. But I am not about to disrespect what the Minnesota Lynx have done. And I'm not about to hand the winner of this series the trophy because let's not forget that Minnesota somewhat dominated the Liberty early on in the season. They won the Commissioner's Cup.
Yeah.
They've got the Olympic coach. She's managed a lot of egos in Paris. So I'm not writing the Minnesota Lynx off. But that being said, with all due respect to what Mariah said, what we have seen out at Michelob Ultra, the Liberty are the team to beat. However, the one person who she brought up that was absent toward the end of the playoffs, the finals, who looks to have gotten a lot healthier during the playoffs and looks ready to go is Chelsea Gray.
And that's the
if
X
the
factor.
Aces steal
Head of the snake.
one game in New York, the Aces are going to win this series in 4. They will come back because don't forget toward the end of the season they went into New York and they won when they were trying to lock up that 4 seed. They had that back-to-back. They were there. They were going to Connecticut. They had the back-to-back in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
If the Aces steal a game in Brooklyn, they're coming back and they're winning it here.
All right.
They're going to win that series.
There's a reason why Willie wore that Aces red today. Ray, your take
Rebel red.
on all this stuff. Rebel red, Aces
Oh,
red.
Lord.
Antonio Pierce seeing red.
I'm red in the face. There's so much red going on. Ray, tell us. I mean, we need your intellect right now. We need to know what the great Ray Brewer is thinking about WNBA basketball here in our city and this Aces team.
So I agree with you. The whole point of sport is to be peaking towards the playoffs.
Yes, momentum.
And they have that momentum. They're playing as good as they've played all season. They also have the best player in the world in Asia Wilson, who seems determined, knowing that what a third championship can do to her legacy.
Yes.
The problem, unfortunately, is after the starting 5, Vegas doesn't consistently have a good 6 through 10, and I think New York is better when the
They're a little deeper.
when the 2s come in. And I know you guys might disagree, and I'm sorry, but it's my opinion. I also think that that New York really shoots it well, and they're going to be able to spread the court.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's definitely the matchup that all WNBA heads wanted to see. So exciting stuff there. Still ahead, we're moving on to the silver and black. Can they rebound this weekend against Cleveland? Our panel is going to break it down, and the great Ray Brewer made a prediction last week that we're going to actually reflect upon because it was pretty jarring stuff. That's all coming up after the break. 36-22. That was the final from Allegiant Stadium as the Raiders welcomed fans back for the season home opener. Sure, Max Crosby was playing injured, but the Silver and Black frankly looked weak against an 0-2 Panthers team, reinvigorated by the 36-year-old Red Rifle Andy Dalton, who stepped in for last year's struggling first overall pick, Bryce Young. Now, on the opening drive, Panthers rolled down the field, and Andy Dalton dished a pass to Chuba Hubbard for a TD, and the Panthers never looked back. Now, Ray, you warned us of this possibility last week. Let's take a quick look back and see what you said.
And I'm like, well, can we pump the brakes? That's like,
I knew it.
They're not going to win. It's how much are they going to win by?
Absolutely, that has to be.
Listen, Andy Dalton is now starting for Carolina.
Red Rocket.
He's 4-0 all time against the Raiders. The Raiders are still very bad offensively. They
If
can't
the
run
Red
the ball.
Rifle comes into Vegas and beats the Raiders, this season is off the rails and it's over.
Well, Vince Sapienza went into hiding after that show and after Sunday because, frankly, this is scary stuff that actually occurred. And, Ray, you had the Golden Globe. You were like Carson's Karnak. You foresaw the future. Tell us, now reflecting back, Willie, give him a pat on the shoulder real quick.
Well, I was going to say, you're like you're a magic 8-ball. We shook you up.
You did a great job. So tell us why you were feeling that way, and now after having that happened, what are you thinking? What are you feeling?
I thought that, 1 quarter of consistent play at the end of the Ravens game really got Vince fired up. And he was all in on the Raiders, but they just can't run the ball. Their quarterback is kind of unproven. Davante Adams is like, we didn't even know that 17's on the field half the time. And then we didn't realize Mad Max was battling injury.
Right. And
it kind of all came together. And when you saw the result, you're like, oh, it was a little clear. The Raiders have some problems, and you have to realize when you can't. Antonio Pierce wants to run the ball and play great defense.
Yeah.
When you don't have the personnel to run the ball, you're not going to win football games.
Well, speaking of Antonio Pierce, beyond the field, a lot of drama surrounding the Pierce presser from Sunday. Let's take a quick look at what Coach AP said here.
I don't think it was a team. I think there was definitely some individuals that made business decisions, and we'll make business decisions going forward as well.
Yeah, business decisions. It's like, I have a business decision. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to open up a tropical smoothie cafe franchise. That's my business decision.
Mm-hmm.
What does Coach Pierce mean by business decisions when he's talking about players
Honestly,
on this team?
that shook me because he is such a player's coach, but I'm glad he made that statement because while, he's boys with his players, you're still the coach. You got to lay down the law, and you do have to make those decisions. Who's starting at quarterback? Who's taking days off and missing practices during the week? We got to take note of those things, and there need to be consequences for them when the outcome is what we saw on Sunday. So I'm glad that he put that out there. I don't know what he's going to do though.
What does he mean by this? Well, is he saying players basically gave up? Is that what that means? They're putting their health or on
Personal lives?
Personal lives over competing late in the game. What did you think by business decisions?
I think as the game got out of hand and we were clear that Carolina was sort of in control, that players sort of gave up. Now, Jack Jones, there was a play that came out on Twitter where Jack Jones, and he sort of gave up and didn't necessarily pursue Hubbard, was breaking through the line, and he let his teammates, and he actually tweeted, I see y'all talking, whatever it was that he said, something to the effect of, see y'all talking, my play will return this week. He could have meant that. Here's the problem I have, and I love AP. I think that he stands on his business for all intent purposes, but let's not forget in the preseason when he made a statement saying, if you're healthy, you're playing in the preseason game. Then out of nowhere, Davante Adams had a tweak. Something was going on, and he missed a practice on the Thursday. And because he said the day before, if you're healthy this week in practice, you're playing. All of a sudden, the next day, Davante wasn't healthy at practice, and he didn't play. I don't know how much, when AP is running the show, if Max and Davante fall under those rules. So, they may stand up to him and have something to say. I'm not saying that they're part of the coaching staff, but at the same time, they're the franchise players. They're the face of this team. What I think is that whatever it is that AP does mean, and whatever he's threatening, whatever he's saying to that team, it better apply to Max Crosby and Davante Adams starting at the top and working your way down that roster.
That's a trickle-down effect. Okay, so we talked football. Now we talked Aces. Now we got to talk hockey. Yes. Golden Knights training camp is underway. Coming up, the panel is going to share their thoughts on all things VGK and this new look team. Welcome back to Sin City Beat. Well, let's face it, this year VGK is going to look and feel very different. Ray, what are the vibes like surrounding this team? What can fans expect from this new look team this season?
Well, first of all, this is an interesting thing for us Vegas people because the Golden Knights were our first professional franchise. We fell in love with a certain rotation and roster of people. We've purchased jerseys. We've given them as holiday gifts. And now we're going to show up and we're going to look out onto the ice and we're going to be like, hey, has anybody got a program? We need to get to find out who's wearing what number. Right. And we need to go get a new shirt.
Yeah, your Fleury jersey's not here anymore.
Yeah.
Marcia Show's gone. I mean, it's new look. So how are fans going to kind of engage with that for the first time?
I think they're going to embrace it. They love this team. I mean, this team means so much to us. They won the Stanley Cup. They helped us heal from October 1. We watch them at night. Every night they're on 84 times or 82 times. I can't count.
Yeah.
And we watch it while we eat dinner. And I just think there's a certain synergy. They're our team, right? We didn't take them from Oakland. They're Vegas born, and they're us. And I just think whoever you throw out there, if they got Vegas on their jerseys, we're going to cheer for them and hope they rush the net as good as the other groups.
You got me so charged up, Ray. I'm
Let's
ready
go, baby.
I'm ready
Come
to
on.
tackle Matthew Sluka.
Yeah.
That's how charged up I am. Mariah, tell us. Look at Willie's face.
I was
like,
going to
"You're
say
not
is you better get behind Mariah because she's pissed.
I know. Mariah, tell us. VGK, this is our team. It's Vegas born, like Ray said. He got me all charged up. How are fans we're getting ready. Training camp going on. What's your vibe? What's your take?
I think it's bittersweet because the Misfits are dwindling down to what, one, two, three, whatever it is. It's going down. The number is declining, and it does leave a lot of room for a lot of youthful players coming in, a lot of upside to look forward to. So I don't want to say it's going to be a developmental year, but I just think it's going to take fans a minute to see the production of these new names, these new faces. But once they score a goal, you know that everyone's going to be like, I'm getting their jersey. They're jumping on that. These fans are so dedicated, and they buy into every player that produces for the Knights. And if they're not producing, you hear it from them as well. So I think no matter what, it's going to be okay. It's a good group of guys, great coach. I think we'll be fine.
There's that Boston flavor.
We're gonna have to buy that media guide. Listen, and we got to make sure before I let you guys go, Willie G. Ramirez is now going to be with which website?
TheHockeyNews.com.
Hockey
News,
be
taking over the Golden Knights portion of that site.
There
So
you go.
adding that to the number of other things.
Hey, make sure you still get those Manny Petties though. You're going to do that for me?
Every 3 Thursdays.
Okay, there you go.
Me
Guys,
too.
thanks so much for being here with us on Sin City Beat. We'll see you next time.